In this video, I'm going to be telling you how I was able to make over $100,000 in profit my first year selling on Amazon Online Arbitrage. We're going to go through the whole year. I'm going to talk through the months, my sales, how it all worked, how it all came together, and everything like that. So if you're interested in hearing my story of how I was able to find financial freedom back in 2021, stick around this entire video, and I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Let's get right into it. I originally started selling on Amazon back in 2019. The problem back in 2019 was ungating was really difficult, so I could pretty much only sell used books. The problem with that is that's very hard to scale, and we all know what happened in 2020 led me to not be able to go to any library sales or thrift stores to get additional inventory, basically. That led me to pretty much stop selling on Amazon throughout like most of 2020, basically. Luckily though, I was still in the community. I was still posting on the Flips for Miles Instagram the whole time, and that raised the surface area of my luck. It gave me opportunity to still talk to Amazon sellers, still learn about what was going on, even if I was more focused on reselling sneakers on other platforms. Luckily, near the end of 2020 and early 2021, ungating started to become pretty doable, and everyone was doing it, so I was like, all right, like I still got my Amazon account, let me try it, basically. And then I was able to get that done in February, basically, and you guys can see this is right where the story begins here. And then I was able to do a little bit of revenue, like around $5,000 in February. I was doing it all merch fulfilled on all old shoe inventory, basically. And the beautiful thing was, stuff was still selling like crazy. Like, it really started to open my eyes to the volume on Amazon. I started, because I was posting on Flips for Miles Instagram page the whole time, and Twitter, I started talking about it more on those pages. So I started connecting with new Amazon sellers. And I was watching a Gary Vee video, and he was talking about how you needed to reply to all the comments of people who are commenting on your stuff, because they're obviously taking the time out of their day to comment and everything. So I was like, you know what, Gary Vee, I'm not just gonna reply to everyone's comment. I'm gonna DM them and introduce myself and like say what's up, basically, too, on that. And that same day, the world aligned, basically, and one of those guys ended up DMing was Garrett, aka All Out Amazon. You guys should definitely be following. I do the Buy Box Bandits podcast with him as well. And I was just like really open to connecting, basically, because I didn't have much going on at the time. I just like finished college. I was making like $3 to $5 grand a month profit, basically, doing like various online things, reselling on other platforms, still some books in Amazon account, everything like that. And we ended up getting on Zoom that week and really hitting it off about online arbitrage, basically. And you can see right up in March, I was able to do about 30 grand of revenue. And that was a big jump up, because we started selling like this one hair clipper product was doing really well, and then a lot of Nike shoes at the time as well. And so you can see that continued to really grow. And basically what we were doing, where we were just getting on Zoom every night and sharing leads. We had this big huge database spreadsheet of leads. I actually still have it, that has a lot of the products we were collaborating over. We were doing a lot of reverse sourcing. Didn't even know about SellerAmp at that point, basically. And we were just absolutely working hard. We were FaceTiming each other when different leads came in. Me, Garrett, Garrett's brother, Danny, and then our friend Jake as well, which is pretty cool. Still love those guys. Talk to them every day these days as well. But I was able to do like 30 grand of revenue that first full month, basically, and that was like 6 grand profit, basically. So I was like, okay, I can totally do this full time. And I was doing this completely merchant build, and the same thing continued in April right there. And in April I did around probably 40 grand of revenue, and it was all merch build. The problem was I actually went on vacation for most of May, so I didn't end up doing much revenue at all. Luckily though, with Amazon and online business, you can turn it off and turn it on pretty quick once you build a skill, basically, because the skill doesn't leave you. And so I came back in June and was able to do about 50 grand of revenue. And that was right when I started to get up in like the 10 grand profit range, and I was like, okay, I can really do something here, basically. And then it's still all merch build at this time. I was just destroying all the limiting beliefs of you guys watching this and myself at the time, that you can't scale with merch build. Now, sure, there was less competition back then, but it was still like, there were still tons of people selling on Amazon. Like, even if, you know, some of you guys can completely change your life just listing everything you buy merch fill for 48 hours, then FBAing it. Because you're going to start getting sales on stuff quicker, and that's going to really increase your baseline confidence level, skill level, and it's just going to increase your cash flow a ton. So like, I think that's a great idea to start listing stuff merch filled for 48 hours, because if something's good to FBM, it's for sure good to FBA. So it doesn't sell FBM in those 48 hours, who cares? It's good to FBA anyway on that, right? So like, if you're worried about that, I'd really give it a go. It's changing some of my students' lives as well too, which is fantastic right there. So June, about 50K of revenue. And then I started to kind of dig deeper into more replenishable type products and start to buy heavier because I was getting more capital because I was making 10 grand a month profit this time, so I was just reinvesting most of that basically, and then was able to do about 60K in July right there. And then the big thing happened was, once again, I'm doing all Merchville at this time pretty much on there, and I went to the Miami Sellers Conference in August and like really started to expand my thinking basically around like what was possible with this stuff, seeing Amazon Lit, our friends Taylor, Roma, some of these big sellers, they were able to go to that basically, start to really get to learn from them too and see what's possible. And then I came home in August and did 100K in 2 weeks because I'm all merch filled at this time. So I did 100K in revenue in 2 weeks basically, and made like between 15 and 20 grand profit, things like 16 grand profit basically. And I was like, okay, we can really do some stuff here. And that was basically the first time I had ever bought like 100 of a specific product, 200 of specific product. And the beauty of that is that's so much less work than trying to find tons of different products basically. The key was that I was finding stuff that was really good, really protected with coupons and stuff like that. So I was able to really nicely execute on everything, get high quantities and then flip high quantities basically, all merch filled. And then September comes around and I start to not get merch filled sales as much. So I pivoted and went FBA, did just barely over 100K of revenue in September of that month, and then it really slowed down. I had to go basically all FBA to get sales, or not all, but most FBA. And in October, my revenue actually fell because there was that dip between getting all that inventory into FBA, right? So there's like a little bit of a pivot there, but ended up being nice in the long term. The problem with that was, my friends, was that October is right when they start to institute restock limits for Q4 basically. So I've been burned by that 2 years in a row. I'm not gonna make the mistake this year basically, but Amazon limits how much you can send in during October and subsequent months for Q4 basically, because they just want to protect their keep their warehouse full of product that's going to move basically and everything like that. So I was like, every Monday I would refresh and see if my restock limits got increased on there. And then November was huge, did over 200 grand in revenue in November, and that's really when volume starts to crank up for Q4. So not only is the same inventory you sell now selling for more, you're also paying less for it though, because there's also a lot of holiday sales. End of November gets into Black Friday as well. So I was going crazy on stuff, and I'm mostly FBA at this point. Basically in November, right around 30 grand profit. I'm like, okay, like we can really do some stuff here. Like I can make multiple 6 figures a year profit doing this. Like I'm never having a job again. Like let's do it. I got a couple, great guys in the community I'm working with basically, and we're just pumping stuff. And then Black Friday rolls around, inventory's dirt cheap. It's selling faster than I've ever seen it sell before. It's selling for more than I've ever seen before because it's the holiday, it's price spiking. And turn the volume on, merch fulfilled, basically paying nothing for stuff during Black Friday, and have like some 15K revenue days consecutively. The biggest days of the year are between like December 5th and December 15th, basically, for anyone wondering on that. And we're just absolutely going crazy merch fill. There was this one website, eBay, well, it's not around anymore. I was doing these big orders on it and I was getting canceled, but I was beating about half of the orders. So I was like doing each order with a different name, switching up the address, different credit card, all that stuff basically, to go ahead and get the orders through. The nice thing was I was doing orders of like 90 units basically at $5 profit a piece. So I was making like 500 bucks per order profit basically. So I did just over 300K, and I think it was December 21st of that year, I was able to close out around just about $1 million in sales. Right there, I was able to make over 50K in profit in that month, in that year basically. And so, that month, December 2021, that like really opened my eyes to stuff. I wanted to do 100K profit last December of 2022. Didn't quite get it, did about 80 basically, but my big takeaways from, I'm gonna do 100 this year, but my big takeaways are really the beauty of merch filled, especially even just trying it out, seeing what happens, right? Because you guys will see, the more you look into it, if you look at most listings, there are people who are merch filled, and if they got a lot of reviews, they know what they're doing and they're making sales, right? So that, as well as really getting good at finding deals, finding coupons, grinding sales when they happen. That is a big skill that a lot of you guys don't take advantage of. You guys aren't digging deep enough. You aren't taking the time to go down, rabbit holes. And the last one is definitely networking with other sellers. That made it a hell of a lot more fun, a lot less work, and a lot more profitable. Basically, it's just overall so much of a better experience when you're able to work together with other sellers and everything. So I've always had to work less than so many of you guys because I've been active on social media, and so I'm just talking to other sellers like crazy. So just by osmosis, from documenting from day one, you can scroll back and see my first sale back in 2019. I've always just been like, I did this today, this worked, this hasn't, etc. So that's attracted so many sellers and free information to me over the years. Basically, that's alleviated so much of like kind of the pain and effort that I would need to do basically. So that's why I'm so big on telling you guys to do it, because it was so big for me basically. But it was kind of the culmination of a couple of years of really consistent effort, culminating into that really big month in December of 2021, making what I was gonna make in a year in a single month, my first year out of school basically on that. So I hope this was helpful for you guys and everything. You guys got any questions, please let me know below. But you can completely use this stuff to change your life. You just need to put in a ton of consistent effort for a long time. Good things will happen basically. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks a lot.